Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about March favorites. This is all the stuff that brought me a lot of joy in the month of March. I've got makeup, skincare, hair care, TV shows, so stick around if you're interested in what I've been loving. All right, first let's talk about some makeup. In the month of March, with, spring getting here and the weather getting nice and everything blooming, I did a bit of a makeup switch up, just kind of taking the colors that I'm reaching for in my everyday makeup routine and kind of replacing with them with something just lighter and, often more bright and pastel to kind of just match all the pretty flowers that are outside. So the makeup I enjoyed in March was definitely lighter colors, more pastel, light pinks, peaches, stuff like that. I found myself wearing this eyeshadow from Glaminatrix on repeat throughout the month of March. I have a ton of eyeshadows from Glaminatrix. They're one of my favorite brands for making really beautiful, sparkly, such glossy, sparkly shadows in such beautiful shades. They have a lot of neutrals and then kind of spicy neutrals and then just a lot of beautiful, bright, interesting shades as well. This is the shade Celestial. It's kind of hard to pick up on camera, but this has a really beautiful duochrome flip. It goes from pink to purple and with a little bit of gold in there. It's such a unique shade. Let me see if I can pick it up. It's such an interesting shade. It's definitely bright and a statement and a unique shade, but it's not out there enough to where you can't just, wear this day to day. I mean, you can wear anything you want any day, but for me, I tend to go for something more neutral day to day. This is just right in the middle, it has that beautiful pink purple shift, but it still is a little bit subdued. Yeah, I found myself wearing this, with just some neutral browns in the crease and a winged liner, and then a pink gloss on the lips. This was my go-to look in the month of March. This is my big palette of exclusively Glaminatrix shadows, so you can see how much I love them. I don't think anything in my makeup collection brings me as much joy as this palette does. It's just these beautiful little gems of sparkling goodness. I just love each and every one of them. Glaminatrix shadows are the closest to Pat McGrath special shadows that I've ever found, outside of Pat McGrath. They have that really glossy, refined looking sheen while still being a statement and being dramatic. They're just absolutely phenomenal. So I don't know what happened, but in the month of March, my skin was not doing so hot. I had a lot of breakouts. I think it was something in my skincare routine that I had introduced, and I've now removed it and things are getting back to normal, but my skin has been through it in March. So because, my skin was struggling, whenever I did my makeup, I was reaching for more full coverage foundation. So I've been reaching for this KVD Serum foundation. Nobody ever talks about this. I had heard about this from Nikki. This is the full coverage serum foundation. I have the shade medium 027, which is a pretty good match for me when I don't have a self tan. I think in the summer it's going to be too light. This is by far the thinnest foundation I've ever tried. It feels like actual water going on your skin, but the coverage it provides is intense. This is going to cover up every single imperfection, every zit, every bit of redness, and also feel very thin on the skin. This has a fairly matte finish. I usually prime with something kind of glowy underneath if I'm going to use this foundation, just because I prefer kind of a satin or glowy finish. But if you're somebody who loves a matte finish, I think you'll really like this. This has got a beautiful blurring quality as well as that full coverage that's, has the pigment to cover any of your imperfections. This also just blurs over everything really nicely and looks very flawless on the skin. This has incredible lasting power. This will last me a full day and still look really great at the end of the day. Literally my only qualm with this foundation is that it oxidizes. So I have the shade 027. I should have showed it to you before it oxidized, but before it oxidized, it looked like there was no way in hell that it would ever match me. It was so fair, but it oxidizes a good 2 to 3 shades deeper, and now it's kind of a perfect match. It doesn't oxidize very orange. I've had foundations turn orange on your skin, and that is just the absolute worst. This doesn't do that. It just darkens. The brand does offer swatches on the website of the foundation when it's wet and minutes when it's fully dried to help you shade match. But I really encourage you, if you're interested in this foundation, to try and swatch it in store to find your perfect match. When you're using a really full coverage foundation, it's so important to get a perfect shade match, just because none of your natural skin is going to be showing through. So it's going to be a very jarring separation from your face to your neck if you don't have a good shade match. If you want a really full coverage foundation, but you don't want to feel like you're wearing a full coverage foundation, I think you should check this one out. I am having such a love affair right now with these RMS blushes. These are the ReDimension Hydra powder blushes from RMS Beauty. I had already really loved the bronzers from this line, and the blushes are no exception. I have 3 shades of this blush, but I've really been loving 2 of them. It's the shades Crystal Slipper and French Rosé. They have such a beautiful, luminous yet not glittery finish that is just so flattering. When I use these plus the bronzer, I do not need to use highlighter. They just have plenty of glow on their own without ever looking like metallic or chunky or dry. It literally just looks like a sheen on your face. Like, these are the ultimate powder products that look and feel like a cream. The one that I use most day to day is the shade Crystal Slipper, and I have it swatched right here. It's really just like kind of a peachy beigey neutral. It doesn't look like anything really when you swatch it, but this shade, I don't know, it has this transformative quality that whenever you layer it over any other, you know, cream blush, whatever shade it is, this Crystal Slipper just kind of like gives this all over like warmth and like beachiness to your cheeks. It meshes really well with like pretty much any other color. Like, I've layered this over red blush, pink blush, brown, like it just looks really good, and it never, you know, messes too much with the shade of blush you have underneath. It just kind of adds this pretty warmth to it, and obviously you get the shine from the formula. But yeah, I kind of use this as like a blush topper, or at the end of my makeup, if things are looking too matte, you know, I will kind of dust this all over to just kind of pull things together. And then the shade French Rosé, I had been searching for a cool pink luminous blush forever, and this is the perfect one for me. It is just the perfect shade. There's not too much white in the base. It's also not too neon, and it doesn't pull like peachy pink. Those are, you know, usually the issues that I see with cool pink blushes. This is just like the perfect amount of pigment. It doesn't have white in the base, and it has obviously that beautiful shade or sheen from the formula. It's just so gorgeous and looks so springy, you know. I just think spring, and I think beautiful pink flowers and a flushed pink cheek. It's just so lovely. In the month of March, I started exploring Thrive Causemetics. I had always heard about the brand, but had never picked anything up from them. To be honest, and this is kind of like mean, but Thrive, something about their energy, just like their vibe, feels very much like multi-level marketing makeup, and it's not. But something about their branding, I think for the longest time I thought it was one of those MLM brands, and I just completely steer clear of those. So I was just like, yeah, I don't need anything from Thrive. And then I looked more into it and I was like, oh wait, like it's actually kind of a cute brand, and they look like they have some good stuff. Ultimately, I'm so glad I did try Thrive because I found 2 fantastic products from them. The first is their Brilliant Eye Brightener. I specifically love the shade Nikki in this product. This is just the perfect one and done, very natural makeup eyeshadow stick. It is not flashy. It is not ultra shimmery. It's not glittery. It really doesn't make a huge impact on your eyes, but honestly, that's why I like it so much for just like really natural makeup. It just doesn't look that special when it's swatched. But it really is just so beautiful on the eyes, especially on my skin tone with my eye color. It just adds this beautiful like kind of veil of like peachy warmth to your eyelids. Like, it is a very warm shadow without being too like orangey. It's just kind of like a pinky neutral with like a champagne shimmer. Something about this eyeshadow formula is it's very dry feeling, and it is quite sheer. That sounds bad, but it actually isn't. My issue with a lot of eyeshadow sticks, especially shimmer ones, is that they have too much pigment and too much like metallic sparkle to them, that when you build them up on the lids, they start to look like chunky and like thick on the lids, and it's like, if your eyelid, you know, if your eyeshadow creases at all and you've got that like thick metallic look, it just doesn't look flattering, you know? So honestly, the fact that these are so sheer and kind of dry allows you to actually like build up the color without it ever looking like thick and kind of scaly. These truly are so easy because I can literally just take the stick and just kind of like swipe back and forth on my lid. And because it's kind of sheer and requires a few layers to build up, you really don't even need to blend these with a brush. Like just kind of throwing a few layers all over your lid, maybe just smudge it a little bit with your finger. That's really all you need. And it looks so nice and pulled together and just like fresh. Since I liked the shade Nikki so much, I picked up 2 other shades. I also have the shade Pilli and Muna. I don't like either of these as much as Nikki. They're very nice and I like them more than a lot of other eyeshadow sticks, but they're not like must-haves to me. Muna, and then here's Pilli. All 3 of them are really stunning shades. I also like that they are very true to the pictures online, and the shade descriptions online also match the actual shades very well. I really hate when, you know, the website says something's a taupe and then you get it home and it's like peachy orange. It's like, that's not taupe at all. These are very true to description. The thing with the shade Nikki, I think this kind of like sheer quality of this particular eyeshadow stick, I think it really works with a lighter shade. I think when you have some deeper shades, it can look patchy. Since Nikki is basically my skin tone, it works just fine. But with something like Muna, I feel like you can get a little bit of patchy look if you try and build it up too much. Pilli though gives me no problems. I think because it has that kind of lighter reflect to it, it's just very user-friendly. Also from Thrive, I tried their matte lip tints. These are amazing. You know, years ago, like 2016, 2017, I remember thinking, I wish there was something on the market that was like a sheer but matte lipstick. And like, that was something that I just lusted for that literally just didn't exist. And then Glossier came on the scene with their Generation G lipsticks, which were sheer matte, and I just lost my mind. I immediately bought those. I was so excited for them. And then I remember when they came, I was like, this isn't exactly what I wanted. The Generation G just can be very dry on the lips, and they can also just like pick up on any like little flake of dryness that you have on your lips. Anyways, that's a long-winded way of saying this one from Thrive is what I wanted Generation G from Glossier to be. It is sheer, it is matte, but not too matte. It's not like a chalky matte. It's kind of like a satin matte. And this feels so creamy and comfortable on the lips. It's just got the most beautiful, addictive texture. When you're wearing it, it really does feel like a lip balm. I only have one of these. It's the shade Nancy, but I love this shade and I would recommend this to almost anybody. It's a really pretty like muted plum with like a little bit of brown. It's very versatile and goes with a lot of different looks. Next lipstick is very similar to the Thrive one in that it is just very effortless and easy and just great to keep in your purse. This is from Ravie Beauty, which is Ali Glein's brand. It's their Effortless lips in the shade Zinnia. They truly are effortless. They require no fussing. You can throw them on your lips and they always look good. This is a sheer lipstick formula. It's not going to be full pigment. It's more than like a tinted balm, but less than like a full lipstick. These have a shiny finish. It's not like ultra glossy. It's just kind of like a nice satiny shine. It's a very healthy looking shine. It's not like ultra glossy, gloopy. It's just like some sheen on your lips. These are also super comfortable. They feel very hydrating and nourishing on the lips. They're just like a joy to wear, and my lips feel better after I take them off. This shade Zinnia is also so beautiful and is just completely up my alley. Like muted berry brown with just the perfect amount of purple, berry, brown, and red. But yeah, both the Thrive and the Ravie Beauty lipsticks have been in my purse all month long. Another more unassuming eyeshadow I've been absolutely loving from Glaminatrix is this matte shadow in the shade Creme. I was doing an order from Glaminatrix and I just kind of like threw this in. It looked like a nice shade and I hadn't tried Glaminatrix's matte formula before, so I just figured I'd try it. But randomly, I kind of have fallen in love with this little matte shadow. This shade is like Mocha Mousse encapsulated. Hopefully you can see right there on my hand, it is just the perfect like multi kind of taupey brown. It has like perfect amounts of brown, pink, taupe in it. It's very light, but you can still build it up to be deeper. It's just perfect. I find myself reaching for it to throw in my crease all the time, but it also looks really pretty when you kind of build it up in the outer corner. It's just like a really surprisingly unique matte neutral shade. The finish is also really pretty. It's matte, but it has kind of like a creamy sheen to it. I love when shadows aren't just like flat, chalky matte and they have a little bit of life to them. Yeah, I wouldn't say do a Glaminatrix order just for this one shadow, but they're like $6 US, and if you're already making an order from Glaminatrix, you might as well throw this one in. This is also really pretty on the lower lash line when you want a little something to define your lower lash line, but you don't want it to get too smoky. This is what I'm always reaching for. You know, I love mixing my foundations with my kind of like glowy primers like this one from Dior to kind of like make a little foundation cocktail. But with this KVD Serum foundation, it just kind of feels like one of those foundations that's gonna go a little wonky if it rejects the formula of what you're mixing it with. So I avoid mixing things with this, and I kind of, you know, end up with the finish that the foundation has without being able to alter it too much. So when I'm in the mood for something a little bit more glowy, but I still want that full coverage, I've been using this little foundation cocktail. I've been mixing the Hourglass Ambient Soft Glow Foundation with a pump of my Dior Forever Star Glow filter. These two are like a match made in heaven. The Hourglass foundation, this has been my favorite full coverage foundation for years now. It has that beautiful, like extremely full coverage. It is very blurring and smoothing, has a beautiful satin matte finish. And then when you mix it with the Dior like thins out the coverage a little bit and gives it this beautiful like pearlescence. It never looks super dewy. It just looks like glowy when you mix these two together, but yet you still get the full coverage of the foundation. So yeah, if you have these two products, I'd really recommend trying mixing them together because I really like the result. For hair, I've really been loving this Bumble Thickening Dry Spun Texture Spray. I got this when it was on sale and I'm really glad I did. This is fantastic if you have very thin, fine hair and you want to feel like you actually have thicker hair. It actually adds thickness to every strand of hair to where like when I'm putting my hands in my hair, I genuinely feel like there's more of it. And because of that thickening aspect, it does give your hair a lot of really great volume. My other favorite texture spray is this one from Living Proof. The difference between these two is that the Bumble has less hold than the Living Proof, but it has, you know, it adds more of that thickness and volume. The Living Proof actually kind of acts as like a hairspray for me. It's sort of like a texturizing hairspray. And then this Bumble, I focus it more at the roots and kind of the upper area of my hair to kind of keep that thickness towards the base. So I use these together. It's kind of a pricey combo, so I try and get both of these whenever they're on sale. But if you can get them on sale, I think it is definitely worth it. Next, I've got some fragrances to talk about. This first fragrance is so random. I had never heard of the brand. It's not sold at Sephora or Ulta or anything. It's a small fragrance house from Nashville, Tennessee. It's called Ranger Station. And this fragrance from them is called Jordan's Perfume. When I tell you I have so many fragrances, you can see them behind me, and I switch them up all the time. I just like hardly ever get compliments on my fragrance, and honestly, it makes me a little sad. But something about this perfume is such a crowd pleaser. Every time I leave the house wearing this perfume, I get complimented by strangers. It's not even like strangers that I'm in an elevator with. It is literally like I've had bartenders, people like across the salad bar from me at Chopped. Like these are people that are working at places that are a good couple of feet away from me, somehow are smelling my perfume and they love it. I don't know how this perfume achieves it, but it projects in this really beautiful, unoffensive way. It's sort of, when you wear this perfume, it kind of like floats around the room and like people will smell it and not be like, ooh, somebody is wearing, you know, strong perfume. It'll just be like, oh, something smells nice. At least that's what people tell me whenever I'm wearing this perfume. And the reason that it's okay this projects so strongly is because it's a very light, natural skin scent. This is one of those like kind of pheromone skin scent that smells different on everybody who wears it and that you can kind of become nose blind to if you wear it regularly. Personally, I've worn this so often that I can't even smell it anymore when I wear it on myself, but people around me always can smell it. The notes on this are super simple. It's sandalwood, ambergris, I think it's ambergris, I don't know, cedarwood, rose, and jasmine. To my nose, this is kind of like a natural woody rose scent. I do not typically go for rose, but something about this fragrance, it just works. To me, it's a very like natural rose. It's not a really sweet jammy rose. It's not powdery. It's kind of like actual rose petals. There's something almost kind of like vegetal to this. It's just really soft rose with that beautiful sandalwood in the background. Like I said, very simple, clean, fresh scent. People love this one. I love it even though I can't always smell it on myself. I'll get little whiffs of it throughout the day, but it's not something that is like choking me all day. It's just beautiful. If you have been looking for a fragrance like Glossier You that has that sort of chameleon pheromone skin scent thing going on, but you don't like Glossier You, this one might be one to check out. I've also fallen in love with a new scent from Jo Malone. This is Beach Blossom from Jo Malone. It's brand new. I think it might be limited edition, but I know it's very new to the market. I just happened to smell this when I was in Sephora, and it was an instant like, oh my god, I love this so much. Oh, it's so good. This is 100% going to be my signature scent this summer. This to me is what I imagine the White Lotus Hotel smelling like. It is like definitely resorty and beachy, but it's rich. This is not a banana boat vacation scent. This is more so of a like fancy linen wearing, drinking mojitos at the resort bar sort of scent. Definitely evokes feelings of vacation and at the beach, but there's something a little bit more elegant about it. If you've ever smelled Dias and Durja Debaser, which is one of my favorite fragrances ever, this actually reminds me quite a bit of that fragrance, but with a sort of like summery edge to it. I'm not sure what makes it smell like Debaser to me. It's kind of a green, bright scent. They both have like a background of coconut. This is like a coconut water, very fresh coconut. The one in Debaser is more of like a coconut milk kind of creaminess. This also has mint as one of the notes. I don't necessarily smell mint as one of the notes, but there's definitely almost like an herbal kind of green quality to this that keeps it really light and fresh. One of the top notes is lime, which I definitely do smell. This is nice and fresh and zingy. It's not a citrus fragrance and it doesn't smell like a lime fragrance, but that lime just gives it that beautiful kind of like herbaceousness. Mix it with the coconut water, and it just combines to be, like I said, like a summertime cocktail sort of fragrance. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're at Sephora and you can smell this, please give it a try because I'm obsessed with it. The wear time on this is quite a bit better than typical Jo Malone fragrances. You know, I've never actually purchased a full size of Jo Malone fragrance because they disappear so quickly, and for that price point, you really want something to stick around. However, I started with a travel size of this one and it had pretty good lasting power, so I decided to upgrade to the full bottle. I would say you probably get like 3 to 4 hours of wear with this with moderate projection. I've also been obsessing about this perfume from Obvious Perfumes. It is Une Pistache, and this is just the pistachio scent of my dreams. I'd been searching for a pistachio scent that wasn't overly sweet for the longest time. Everything that I tried smelled like almond or vanilla. It never really captured that kind of salty, earthy, nutty fragrance that I wanted from something pistachio, but this one didn't. This fragrance is so interesting. It starts out very like photorealistic pistachio. It's very like salty and nutty, a very gourmand fragrance, and gourmand in the sense that it smells like food, not that it's sweet. This really smells to me like almost like a bread, like not banana bread, but some sort of bread that you'd eat with coffee that has pistachios in it. Something just like kind of earthy and like nutty to it, and almost like yeasty a little bit. Sounds unpleasant, but it really is wonderful. As you wear this, that kind of initial salty pistachio note fades and you're left with a really lovely, not too sweet, but still warm kind of skin scent that has a lot of that beautiful earthy nuttiness. You get a little bit of spiciness. I think this has cardamom as one of the notes, which gives it that kind of like spicy coffee bread sort of situation. It just smells very like warm and inviting. Gourmand without being heavy or sweet at all. Dried out on this is also a little bit sunscreeny, but like in a very pleasant way. There's also a little bit of powderiness to this, which I usually cannot stand, but for some reason with this, it just works. This is a gorgeous fragrance, really for any time of year. I've been loving it for spring because it's kind of a departure from the usual fruity florals that I'm going for in spring. And it's something that's a little bit different, more gourmand, but still very light and wearable for spring. This also mixes beautifully with other fragrances. Anything you want to kind of introduce that earthy nuttiness to, you can layer this with, and it just sort of transforms your other scents. A skincare item that I have been absolutely loving is from Bloom Effects. This is their Royal Tulip Nectar. This is a very unique product. It's kind of like a sleeping mask, slugging type kind of product. It has this incredible jelly texture that is just very satisfying to scoop out. I've been using this as the very last step of my skincare routine at night, or as like a hydrating mask whenever I just need a little bit of a boost. This has such a delicious texture and feels so comforting on my skin. You only need a little bit, like a pea-sized amount is all you need, and then like warm it up in your fingers and then just spread it all over in a thin layer all over your face. And I tell you, this gives you just the most like bouncy, hydrated, happy skin the next day when you wake up. So in March, I got really addicted to the show The Pitt on HBO. If you haven't seen The Pitt, it's a show about a team of ER doctors. I had been seeing advertisements for it and I was kind of eye rolling. I was like, do we really need another medical show? Grey's Anatomy has been on for 87 years. But I just kind of watched an episode on a whim and I was instantly hooked. That show is so intense and fast paced. It can be a little bit stressful. It's not like a comforting thing to watch. And each episode is an hour in their day. So like the whole season has only been one day. So because of that, it is very just like intense and I kind of have to be like ready to sit down and watch it. But I just absolutely love it because it's so engaging. The whole show just has a lot of compassion to it. It's not like corny, it's not over the top, it just feels very human. How all the characters like handle each of these situations just feels very human and very authentic. And I really like that, especially compared to the melodrama of some other shows like Grey's Anatomy. So far, there have been hardly any romantic entanglements. It's really just like doctor stuff and then interpersonal relationships. So, you know, people working with their superiors, you know, people in their group of attendings or whatever. It's very much like those different relationships and things that they're struggling through without all being about romance. I just find it really refreshing to see a TV show that isn't relying on sex as the main vessel for drama. All right, y'all, that is the end of my March favorites. I really hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please give this video a like. I am a small growing channel and any support that I can get is really, really helpful. I'd love to know down in the comments what were some things that you really enjoyed in March, whether it be food, TV shows, movies, music, like I want to hear it all. I'm very nosy about all of the things that my friends are using and like what they're loving. I just love hearing about it, so please do leave a comment with your favorite stuff from March. Thanks for joining, y'all. I'll see you next time.